everyone, welcome to Morning Matcha. Today I'm here with the co-founders of Yumi, Angela and Evelyn. And Yumi is a nutrition and wellness company for babies, and they offer a full range of baby food for delivery straight to you. Hi.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having me in this beautiful space. It's so wonderful to be here with you today. And I'm so excited to dive in and learn all about Yumi because I'm just like super energized. As you know, I told you I'm pregnant and exploring all my options.
Congratulations.
And just so grateful that you guys created this for the next generation. And again, like there's just so many options out there for us as adults now. Like everyone's getting into health food and there's options for dogs even. And I just cannot believe that this didn't exist for our children. So I'm super excited to learn more about it. And I want to start with just how you guys met and
well, it's actually great timing in terms of having this conversation now because it was actually when Angela was pregnant with her first child. That was really the inspiration for the business. But Angela and I have been friends for several years before Yumi. We were introduced by my now fiance. And when he first introduced us, he was like, at some point, you two are going to start a company. So you should be really nice to her. And
so
he was
intuitive.
Right. I know, he was so intuitive. But yeah, so Yumi really came about from Angela's first experiences with motherhood and being pregnant and really thinking about like for the first time, like how is nutrition impacting this new life? So I'll let her kind of like share that story and start.
Yeah, I'd love to. I mean, I was pregnant when I started thinking about like what I'm putting into my body and how that affects my baby. You know, I think like most millennials and people our age, when we get pregnant, like we grew up with Google. And so we just instantly go on and try to think of all the things that you're supposed to be doing or not doing. And
terrifying.
And I also got down this like deep rabbit hole of nutrition. Something like I love food and it's something that interested me. Like I was also like really sad when my doctor was like, you can't eat all of these things. And so I started getting into it and I started researching a lot. And I found that about 10 years ago, the Lancet, which is basically like the Institute of Health out of the UK, published this landmark research study about childhood nutrition called like the 1,000 Days.
Wow.
Basically like saying that in the first 1,000 days of life, from conception to age 2, nutrition is more important than any other period of your life.
Wow.
So what you and I eat, albeit like delicious, has much less of an impact than what an infant eats. And when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. But I had also never heard that. You know, and my friends had never heard that, and we're all like educated and caring people. And like people always thought like, oh, give kids whatever they want, they'll be fine. And
they can filter through it.
Yeah, it's like they'll be fine. Give them like the cupcake. I can't eat the cupcake because I don't want to get fat. But turns out it's actually the exact opposite. Like so, as an adult, you actually are closer to reaching like metabolic stasis. But as a baby, your body's like cementing all these things. It's forming all of these like neurons and synapses and hormones that you make. And so that was really eye-opening to me. So like learning that this was like the most important period of life, that it's so critical to get all these things, all these vitamins and minerals. It was daunting. And I sort of wondered what my options were. So, you know, like at the first years of life, you breastfeed or you can give formula, and formula is regulated like a drug. So you know that they get all these vitamins and minerals. But then after that, it's like the Wild West.
Yeah.
So I'd go to the grocery store and I was shocked to find that everything like was in the center of the grocery store aisle. It was older than my baby. It felt like they're way too long.
Totally.
Yeah. And I was like, how is this the only thing? You know, like I'm in a place, I live in Los Angeles, but I also like, as a millennial, we have access to so many things now, like fresh delivery of anything for me, for my dog, for anything. And I could not find fresh baby food. And I just felt that was a really big gap. I was like, how does that exist when you know this is important and you want to do the right thing, but the only option was for me to cook every single meal?
Yeah, and that's ridiculous.
And that's absurd. During the busiest time of your life?
Yeah.
Like, why now?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's when I started talking to Evelyn. We really like talked about all the pain points.
Yeah.
And
I mean, we just started nerding out on it.
Yeah.
So we're both researchers at heart, right? Like obviously Angela really cared about this, was going down this really deep, long rabbit hole. And she had created this Dropbox folder of like all of these clinical studies showing how nutrition was so important. And I also, a woman in my early 30s, found it really eye-opening because I didn't know about the 1,000 days initially. And
Yeah.
also asked all of my friends who were, were of this age where they're having kids for the first time, and they didn't know about it either. And also felt really lost in terms of what to think about nutrition and what to feed their kids, and didn't know how critical this period was. So at the time, I was a journalist. I was the innovation reporter at the Wall Street Journal. And I think I became a journalist initially because I wanted to shed light on important issues. And as Angela was showing me all of this research and information, it was just so clear to us that like another company should exist that really gave parents a better option, helped empower them with information. And, so we quit our jobs. Like she was in finance and private equity, and I was at the Journal. And then we started building Yumi. So,
Wow.
yeah.
And based here in Los Angeles.
Here in LA.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I mean, we found that Los Angeles is a great place to start something like this. There's so much like acceptance of the belief of like good food and like, food is medicine and and so that wasn't a big leap for people here. And then I think like because of that, it's now like everywhere. It's across America. You have like magazines called like Healthy-ish. There's everybody's
Totally.
trying to get healthier and see what's happening. And I think that who you want that the most for is your baby, like this most precious being. Like that's who you're going to want that the most for. And so our philosophy is like to not make it feel like something you're guilty for, but rather give you the option to give really fresh things. So either give them the option for our food or give them our exact recipes and like cook them at home. We want you to know how important this is. And then I think the world will see baby food differently.
Yeah, it's completely changing the landscape. I mean, it's not like I was mentioning to you guys when I got it in the mail. I was like, this isn't just baby food. I can eat this and I want to eat this. And I was so tempted to try it, not just because it looked so cute and like the packaging from the get-go and ice packs with watermelon on it. I mean, it just was so sweet and inviting and felt so good, but also the ingredients. And I'm such a big like ingredient person. I read every label and I don't let it like drive me nuts, but it's so important to me because I want the least amount of ingredients and I want them to be pure. And that's exactly what I found in your products. And that's so just so nice. It's nice to trust a company and know that they're doing the work so you don't have to.
Yeah, it's incredible though. A lot of people tell us that they were shocked by like the high quality of the product because I think for so long, if you were like, hey, try this baby food, right? People thought of baby food as this pretty bland, something that was off the shelf, of course, older than their baby. And that was what our expectations were for this market for so long. And so I think it's really great to like open people's eyes and they're like, oh, these are really great premium ingredients. And I see exactly how much green stuff or kale that I'm getting.
Yeah.
And to bring that transparency to the market and to get people really excited about baby food was what we wanted to do from the beginning.
Yeah. And we wanted to choose things that parents would see and say like, I would love to eat that, because I think that it is a funny world when you don't want to eat your kids' baby food. Like,
why would you buy that?
Yeah, why would you buy something that you wouldn't even want? And so I think that was something that we really like focused on was like making sure each meal was delicious for our babies, but also for us. Like we want to make sure that every parent can taste it and say, that is delicious.
So what did people like feed their babies before? Or how often would they give them, or do they give them the jars? Like, is it one a day?
Yeah, so we have packages ranging from 6 a week to 20 a week, depending on like how often you want it in your life. And we did this on purpose because I think that most people love flexibility. Like maybe I can make one meal or 2 meals, but I don't want to make every meal. And then also kids go through different phases in their life. They're eating some like more food and others less, like to other times less food.
Yeah.
And so really what we wanted to say was that you should view like great food as like support. Because if you could just have one great meal a day for your kid, it would help everything else. Like everything else falls into place. Like you could figure out the rest. And so we wanted a small package so everyone felt like that fit into their lives. But we actually, most people use us for many meals a day. I think it's a sign of people just really trusting the service. And so, I think we're pretty excited about.
Yeah. And so many flavors too.
Yeah.
How many are there?
Well, they're constantly changing, right? So we're changing our menu based on seasonal ingredients. And, I think like that's part of the value proposition, right? We wanted to get people excited about variety. So we're constantly expanding our menu base. And I think that's what's great is that you can expose your kids to all these flavors. And that helps reduce, obviously, the chance that they'll become picky eaters later in life because they're so acclimated to trying all sorts of ingredients in different combinations. So that is part of the value.
I love that. Yeah, that's so important to get all the different tastes and exposed to that because I'm such a picky eater.
Yeah.
And that's probably because I don't know why, but probably from the beginning, I wasn't exposed to it as like full of a range. I'm just so curious though, like with the baby, it was with your first one?
Yes.
And then you guys coming up with this, leaving your jobs, which is also just like so tough to do. And it's, there's a lot of security behind that. And then what about your husband and your, at the time, fiance? Or
now fiance, then like significant other.
I mean, it sounds like they were super supportive.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a great testament to like where we are in our lives or society. But like I was a breadwinner before, like I was in a finance job and I chose to leave that. And my husband was always supportive of me and always really thought that like we could do something really great. And, he also truly believes in the mission, thinks it's like really important for society and the world to exist. And so he's been my number one supporter.
Aww.
Yeah, I feel like really lucky. I mean, and I love Angus and Daniel, my fiance. They've just been such cheerleaders from day one and wanting to pitch in and help at every turn. And I think that's like a big part of like the success, and Sheryl Sandberg once said that like one of the best decisions she made for her professional career was the person she had married, right? And like just having someone who inspires you, encourages you, sees that greatness. So like, starting a company is like there's ups and downs. It's a roller coaster for anyone who goes through that journey. And so to always have The Rock who's like just cheering you on and just knows that it can be so great. It's just like it's really great. And I think we both feel really lucky to have such incredible people and incredible support network in our lives.
Yeah, that's so special. I love that. I didn't know she said that. So what was like step one after leaving? Did you come up with like recipes before and then you were ready or
no.
You dove right in? How long did it take from the idea to like getting it off the ground?
We circled together and quit our jobs at the same time. It was really soon after we talked about it. So we just wanted to take the plunge because I feel like you could have left it like languishing for a long time and staying in your job. So we just decided that it was much better to just jump right in.
Yeah.
So we just took the plunge and then immediately started figuring out fundraising, raising money from friends and family, and then setting up operations, like launching a beta to like test, to figure out the recipes, to figure out the sales, and then it was off the ground. I would say probably within a month and a half.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And that was how long ago?
That was now 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And then that was for our beta of testing. And then we officially raised 2 years ago almost and officially launched, throughout California in July of last year.
That's amazing. And as far as like the branding and the vibe of the business, did you have a vision for that or how did that come about?
Yeah.
Because it's I view it as such a big aspect of the company as well.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I mean, we have definitely a great community of like artists and designers who've helped us with it. But I think like from day one, we were very clear on kind of what we wanted the brand to feel and to look like and what it would say in kind of the visual messaging. And for us, we talked about this at length before, but we wanted it to be a brand that really spoke to the modern parent, right? And this idea that like you had a whole sense of aesthetic and design before you even had a kid, right? You're a whole person before, you're a whole person after. And it's not like the branding has to dramatically change and just speak to the child and just be like big bubbly letters. It's like, how do we create a brand where it's whimsical and definitely a brand for children and kids, but also one that spoke to the sophisticated sensibilities of our modern parent?
Yeah.
And so we really wanted to really communicate that in the visual messaging of the brand. But
Definitely delivered. I love it so much. And I think it just makes you so excited again to use the product. And I feel the same, like similar companies that do that, like Ritual with like taking the, right now I take it, but it's not a prenatal, but like you can also, accompany your prenatals with it. And it's so great.
I love what Kat has done too.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of us have talked about it, about how like there's this gap in the market of all these old stale products, like that just doesn't speak to us, whether that's the baby food space or old baby products or this like, giant vitamin market. Like it just, there's not a lot of products that want to speak to like where we are as millennials and what we want to see and what we want to like have in our lives. Like, so that's something that we really like thought about, from the packaging that you get to like the visuals on Instagram. We really felt like it was important to have more than just the idea of like, oh, cute pictures of babies. And then, there's multiple things to this, but also cute pictures of babies.
Exactly. How is Yumi different than other baby food brands in the sense of like the actual nutrition that is in it? Because I'm sure you guys have a different idea of what nutrition is than Gerber.
100%.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm going to take part of it and I'll let you take the other part. But it started because I took all the SKUs of organic ingredients, like, or organic brands, and put them into a big spreadsheet and found that on average, they derived over 50% of their calories from fructose, from fruit sugars. So they were really nutrient poor. Like, they are mostly apple and pear sauce, which, again, in moderation can be fine, but not for every single meal of your day. You're just not going to get enough stuff. Like, you don't get the iron that you need or the folate that you need. And so we took a very different approach. Because of that, because what we saw, we decided to build ours to be low in fructose, very nutrient dense, like tracking against all the things that you'll need, like all the recommended daily like vitamins and minerals, and then build a meal plan around that. And so that way, every like jar that you get, you can be really comfortable that you're getting a really great meal. This isn't the throwaway one. Like, this is actually going to give your baby like a lot of what they need in that day. And so that's like how we formulated it. I mean, after that, we've of course like worked with nutritionists, pediatricians, and chefs to perfect the taste. But like, we specifically formulated it to be nutrient dense, the exact opposite of what you think of as a Gerber or a Plum.
Yeah. And I think like, a big part of this was just creating new standards for the industry, right? And as Angela mentioned, it's just very high in fructose on average, a lot of these brands.
Yeah.
And we really wanted people to pay attention to the ingredients, the amount of kale. And that's why when you see the layers, like, they're separated. So you can really get a sense of the food ingredients that are in your jar. And then on top of that, there's no like governing body that says you should have a certain cap on the amount of fructose for the baby food market. But we really want customers to expect more from their food. And I think like you do see a groundswell of movement building. And it started also with documentaries like Fed Up that have started to look at the impact of fructose and high in sugar diets and processed foods on this generation. And I think like that's just a conversation we wanted to push forward.
Yeah, to extend to our children.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It doesn't make sense to just be like in those documentaries, they share how the fat craze, right? Like, they just stripped all the fat and then pumped in the sugar.
That's
Exactly.
right. And so it's also true with kids. And then they get hooked on this flavor profile when very, very young. So if you give them high fructose things, they will start liking high fructose things for a long time, for their life. And I think what we set out to do was really just take a stance, like say we don't want that much fructose in our things. Nothing will have it more. Like we want people to know transparency of like how nutrient dense your things should be. And I think that should like be sort of a pallbearer for other companies, hopefully, that they'll say like, well, I have to stand up to those standards too.
Yeah.
And so
creating the new standard it's just like the beauty industry, not regulated.
Right.
Same thing. But now we see all these organic brands coming out, and they're different ones. Some are safe. Some are, I mean, there's different tiers, but if there were tiers for the baby food one, you'd be at the very top.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the future? I mean, you right now you're only West Coast. So that's, I'm sure nationwide is coming up, and I'm so excited for people all over the US to have access to Yumi. It's so important. When's that coming up?
So that's our future. So within the next 6 months, we're going to start building out the operations and sending out throughout the United States.
And also expanding our product line. As we mentioned, we really focus on early childhood nutrition, and it was never about just creating a puree. It wasn't just about a singular product, but it was around a range of products to really support this period. Yeah.
Yes.
So what else does that mean?
Like teething snacks and finger foods and like full meals. Like, so that way, like this period of life from, again, from conception to 2, like we want like you to know that we think about that. Like this is the most important period of your child's life, and you should have support. And so we want product to support that.
That's so amazing. So it'd be like snacks that people can just buy, add on to the delivery, or just have like in their pantry, just waiting.
That's right.
That's so great.
Yeah.
And how's so you have a 3-year-old?
So I have a 3-year-old turning 4 and a 1-year-old turning 2. And they're amazing.
And they love Yumi.
They love Yumi.
Yumi
we
food.
actually joke about Yumi babies being extra tall because of all the nutrition they're getting. And both of my children are 100th percentile height.
Oh my gosh.
So
that's incredible.
Yeah, they're little baby monsters.
What about like their taste buds compared to other babies? I'm so interested.
That's a great question. And I don't want to say it's all because of this. But I definitely think, so like my daughter has a very diverse palate, really will eat anything. And she's not picky. She doesn't pick out things from her food. She's in school already and she's still not doing that. My son was super picky. And I still continue to give him the same food because like that's what science says, just continue to give it to them. So I continue to give him Yumi over the years. And his pickiness is still there, but he's now picky for healthy food. So he will actually like turn down things that he's never seen before, like or doesn't want, like a French fry, but he'll choose a good one. And so I think it's just addressing the pickiness. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now he's still his like, his behavior is still picky, but he likes the healthy foods. So, and I definitely think it comes from like the early years of me insisting on them eating healthy foods.
Do you guys help a little bit with as far as stuff like that, like tips on parenting and how to?
Yeah, that's actually a big part of what Yumi is. So my background's in content, and I think when we were mapping out what this company would look like, we really wanted to go big on content in terms of empowering parents with knowledge, right? Because there's just so much information. And I think like when we look at what our mission is, it's not just about a product. As I mentioned, it really is about like supporting them. And that big part of that is information. It's recipes. So as Angela mentioned before, we give you recipes for purees. We give you recipes for finger foods. And people have asked us like, why do you do that when you actually create a product that they could buy? Because that's in a way competing against yourself. But it's like, we're just here for the modern parent. And it's not about choosing one direction or one product or one brand and that's all you do. But like some days you might want to cook, some days you might want a convenient option that makes you feel really good. And so it's being able to offer that 360-degree support. So for us, you know, a big part of like the second half of this year is rolling out content in a big way, like having more nutrition guides. And we actually just rolled out our Milestones program. So every week that you're on with us, you also get a whole program, a whole content that's tailored to your kids' development.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah, it's just like creating that 360-degree support. And then on top of that, like a big part of our like customer service team are actually nutritionists and doulas and people that you can talk to. So if you have a question, it may not even be related directly to like your Yumi subscription, you can ping them about that. And I think like that is just another piece of like to provide confidence and security and support to parents. But content is really big. And I think, you know, when it comes to brands and what is a modern brand today, I think this generation really wants to embrace brands that aren't just selling them something, right? Like it has to be authentic and it has to come from a place where you can tell that what they're providing you and the content in every touch point is like to really help your life or to be an authority in that niche, right? And so for us, that's early childhood development and nutrition.
Yeah, it's for a bigger cause. It's not just selling you that subscription or whatever. It's like we're here to help and support you and you and the baby and your entire family, and it's a lifestyle, and competition is not like that's not a thing at this point.
And that's why we created the children's book.
I know, I wanted to talk about this.
Yeah, The Incredible Edible World, which is,
so
you know,
cute.
a strange thing to put time, money, resources into. But for us, it was like, it's another way that we communicate how much we care about this period, and that like, you know, your kid can read that and start to like build a connection between themselves and a love for real fruits and veggies. So it's a counting book that shows you where a lot of the ingredients that you're getting in your Yumi meals like generally come from, right? And so I think there's just a lot of like fun and whimsy and just a way to communicate that. And you'll have that on your bookshelf for quite some time, right?
I know, I love it. So for our listeners who can't see this cute little book, it's an illustrated book that comes along with the subscription, I'm sure, the first time, right?
Yeah.
And they just took so much time, and it really shares, again, like what she mentioned, where the ingredients come from and or how you can enjoy them, like here on the beach with strawberries. And but I just love that because you can read this to your child, or just the colors, even if they can't, you know, process it. Just looking at this, it's so stimulating in a good way.
Yeah.
Not like TV
I'm so
and
glad you like it.
iPhones and iPads. So what have you learned just in the last couple years about people and food?
Yeah.
I think people are so interesting, and for us, like, you know, we find out a lot about people through what content they like to read, or we do pop-ups. So in person, I love learning about just like their routines and things like that. But I've learned so much, and I always love to ask that question of other entrepreneurs because it's really interesting. Some things just surprise you that you never would have thought, and other things it's like something you would have known, like someone needs support in this area.
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, things that we've learned in this journey so far is like, you know, obviously how important this time is. And so you really want to do everything to give those trust points, as we call them, right? So it's these points of trust, whether it's giving them a children's book or providing them extra support on the customer service side or additional content, because people are really receptive to like new information around food. I think this generation is, you know, they don't necessarily trust the big brands. And so they do want to learn more, and they want to understand how they can create a better food program for their kid and themselves. And so they're very receptive to the message. And it's like, it's just about like, how do you make sure that you can create a program that really does support them and show them that at every turn? Because that's why everything matters, from like the packaging and not just like the food product in itself, right?
Yeah, everything goes together.
Yeah. I think for one of the things I like loved learning over the process was like, you know, I think forever brands were scared of doing things like, you know, they wanted to always seem accessible to everybody or the middle of the road. and they didn't have much personality, but like learning like how much people actually do want personality and they want to see you as a brand, like they want to know who you are, has really like allowed us to show that and like explore that because, and that's been like a really fun part of building it, but I wouldn't have guessed that, you know, originally before we started. And I think that was something really great. It's something great about our generation and what we look for in brands. So that was an exciting sort of discovery.
I know, it's so different, right? I mean, it's from, I guess, like reality TV to social media and all that. It just, what it created was people wanting to know more about who's behind the brand or who it is. And like, you don't have that with Gerber, or you don't have that with these huge companies. And it's so nice for people to be able to meet you and learn about what inspired you to create this amazing product and the intention behind it, and to look forward and grow with the brand too, I think is such a cool opportunity.
Yeah.
Like to be someone who signed up from the beginning and then like watch all the things that come up. It's so special. And I want to go back to the food really quick because I have a question about fermented food for babies. And if you guys have like, I mean, I know a lot of parents who give their kids like coconut yogurt, and that's super easy to digest and like really great for them and gets in the probiotics and stuff. But I'm curious if you guys have like thought about that or if you offer it.
Yeah, so we have not done a fermented product, but we are interested in looking at like a fermented chip.
Cool.
Because for the exact same reasons, as for our listeners who don't know, fermentation is really great for your microbiome. And so we really consider, and we talk about this at length with our content, how critical it is to develop your microbiome during this like period of life. So we do offer things like coconut yogurt right now.
Oh, cool.
But as far as like pure fermentation, we didn't want to put that in food product necessarily. That it can go bad really quickly. I don't, like there's lots of like dangers around fermentation.
Yeah.
But if we are exploring a way to do it in like a chip form, to like really like have that benefit of microbiome. But either way, we absolutely value it and are really interested in it and explore it. So it's a really great conversation. Just because I think listeners should know how much we think about like this period and like the microbiome in general. And so right now, we like our formulations are meant to be like correctly for that, like correct for that period of your life.
Yeah, because they're allergen free. I mean, they're gluten free. They're low in sugar. They're soy free. They're all these things. So,
and it's also even the variety that we talked about before is really important in helping you create like a diverse microflora in the gut, right? So that's actually a big part of it too.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, so it's something it's an area that we think is really interesting. I mean, even just personally, it's I think fascinating kind of like what we're learning about this space and the implications to our overall health. So yes, I think it's a really excellent point, and it's definitely exciting area.
And it's like totally safe, right? To give to your kid if you were like to ferment.
Yeah, I mean, fermentation's been used for centuries in different, ethnicities and cultures. Like I said, we don't do it in-house because, like, there's risks with fermentation, but which is why we're looking for a more dried route of it. But it's totally safe in your house to do things and give things. Like, I think it's such a great, interesting thing. And the more we learn about like the microbiome and what's good for it, I think we're just at the precipice. Like there's so much more there. But it's something we internally, because we nerd out about all things good for baby, have thought about a lot and how to make sure that is incorporated in what we have.
What about like getting DHA and just like the brain food, right?
Sure. So DHA is extracted form of omega-3s, so like for the listeners who don't know. So we make sure our food is naturally high in omega-3s. So we actually have a lot of ingredients naturally high in omega-3 or alpha-linoleic acid. And one of the things that like even like the hot product right now of dragon fruit, or what makes it so good is actually its natural seeds. One are high in insoluble fiber, but also DHA, like omega-3. And so like having good fats is like integral for your baby's brain development. Like you need that fat for like myelin development, neurons, synapses. And it's so important for us to make sure you're getting those healthy fats, sort of back to what you were saying before about this whole generation of taking out fats and replacing it with sugar. One of the biggest problems of that is baby brain development. You actually should have a lot of healthy fats, and DHA being an example of why they add that to formula. But we don't need to add anything. We can get it naturally. So that's what we do.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm super excited because I love eating it. And I heard, does one of you guys eat it?
Oh, we all eat
Yeah,
it.
we actually always have some in the fridge every week, so we can eat it as a group, like lunches,
so good.
breakfasts.
It's delicious. And someone was like, oh, yeah, it's like overnight oats. But like, it's so much, it's even better because I don't get the sugar high. Yeah. And like some of the overnight oats feel like so sweet sometimes when I buy it out. And so it's just really nice and it's sustaining.
It's crazy because a lot of adults are now ordering it for themselves. Like they may not even have babies.
Yeah.
So it's, because it is just real great food. And so it's a very kind of efficient way to also get your greens for the day.
Totally.
So a lot of people will use it as like a snack, like a better version of like the yogurt they might buy at the grocery store.
Yeah.
So,
how funny, like a whole new market that you may not have thought of. Like people, maybe they just had some sort of like gum surgery or tonsil surgery, or like they're in the hospital. It's like perfect.
Yeah.
That's so funny. So have people reached out saying
Definitely.
that
They like just got their like jaw wired or like perfect.
Oh my gosh. Kanye West back in like 2000, whatever.
Totally. But no, it's just really funny. We don't really know how to market to those people yet.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we're focused on like early childhood kind of period, but anyone is welcome to buy.
Well, the fact that it like made it on the radar is amazing and makes me so happy. And I hope it makes it to hospitals.
We do.
Like that would be just so great. I mean, whether it's just like at St. Joseph's for kids or whatever, that would be
it would be so great.
Yeah.
But like I said, we hope that it changes the way people view like what the options are.
Yeah.
And like at the very least, like rethink what you're putting on those hospital shelves, like, what you're serving in those cafeterias, like
Jello.
Exactly. Jello and
Jello
juice,
and
right?
chocolate pudding.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Is that really happening? It's crazy.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, one of our medical advisors was actually the first doctor in the United States to get juice off of the menu for kids at our hospital. So it was just like, and that was, we just geeked out with her on this and how she felt really passionate about it too. So, we see it as like, it's part of a movement, right? It's getting people to also really care about it and see like what we could do, whether it's at the hospital or in the home.
Oh, well, thank you so much. This was so much fun. I love chatting with you and meeting you and learning more about Yumi. And I'm so excited to use it myself for my baby. And I'm just really excited also for more people to have access to it too. So,
well, thank you so much for having us. This was really lovely.
Cheers.
Cheers. Love you, matcha.
Happy matcha.
Morning matcha. Cheers.